All right, guys. So today we have a very special guest. This guest arguably has the best Dragon Ball Legends account in terms of Z level, power level, equipments, characters, and all that good stuff. So, yes, it's going to be Goresh, and he's going to be predicting the Legends Festival, or at least trying to predict, and just, talking about the Legends Festival back and forth and what's his thoughts about what we can expect in general. So, yeah, thank you so much, Goresh, for stopping by. And, yeah, just quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've been playing the game basically since day one. Been keeping up with everything. I played every single meta that existed, and big fan of the game. Hopefully Legends Fest lives up to the 5th anniversary, which was amazing.
Yes, that's actually my first question right there. So, speaking of the 5th anniversary, it's arguably the best celebration. I think we can actually just not even say arguably, it is the best celebration. A lot of people would say the 1st anniversary, but that's kind of like ancient times. The 5th anniversary definitely was the best celebration in general. Now, for the 5th anniversary, we got 3 LFs and 1 Ultra. Of course, for part 1, we ended up getting Tag LF Goku and Frieza. For part 2, we got dual LF banners in, of course, Orange Piccolo and Gamma 1 and 2. And then we finish it off with Ultra Vegeta Blue. Now, my first question is a dual question. What would you do if you had the power to construct the Legends Festival? What would you do to make this Legends Festival compete or better than the 5th anniversary? And the follow-up question is, what is your realistic expectations for the Legends Festival?
Okay, so I think they need to release the same amount of characters that they released for the anniversary. I think that's a really important factor. Obviously, quality is also a factor, but quantity is, I think, a bit underplayed by people in terms of how important these celebrations actually end up being and how hyped they actually feel. Part 1 of the 5th anniversary, we had 4 characters on the same LF banner. Then we had dual LF banners. Then we had an Ultra character. Now, if it was up to me, I think the way I would change Festival from the anniversary format is I would just swap the Part 2 format to the Part 1 format. So I think leading off the celebration with 2 LF banners is probably a better way to generate an explosive start to the celebration. And then in part 2, you release 1 LF banner, and then part 3, you finish with the Ultra. So you sort of like sandwich in the hype. So you have a really explosive start. You have like, a decently good middle portion. Maybe you release like 3 sparkings on the banner, part 2 banner, and then you finish strong at the end of the year with an Ultra banner. I think, in my opinion, that would be an even better way to do this than how the anniversary was handled.
Yeah, 1,000%. Because if you really think about it, like, if you were to start off any big celebration, in this example, the Legends Festival, if you bring out a character, even if it's a hype character, like, don't we usually just get hype characters in normal months anyways? Like, this 2003 has been really, really crazy. I mean, we've gotten hype characters throughout since January, honestly. I mean, even Ultra Hit in itself was really hype, and that was a singular character. Granted, of course, it's an Ultra, but still, like, there's characters that, on a regular month could open up, and it's like a normal thing for Dragon Ball Legends now to come out with a regular hype LF. The Legends Festival has to separate itself from the regular month. That's my biggest concern going in there, is it has to and we're going to get to the events in just one bit as well, but in terms of the characters, that's the biggest issue. Like, all the from the previous, at least the Legends Festival, it's basically a normal month but amplified. Whether it be characters, whether it be rewards, whether it be events, it's the same thing but amplified. Now, as the follow-up question, what would be your realistic expectations for the Legends Festival?
In terms of the characters?
Yes, in terms of, like, realistically.
Okay, so I mean, it's going to depend on the format as well. I think at this point, we've pretty much gotten every single major moment represented from the series in the game, right? Goku and Frieza was kind of like the last big moment. We have one other big moment that's not really represented, which is the Universal Spirit Bomb from GT, of course, Kid Goku at the end of the series, who defeats a Mega Shenron with the Spirit Bomb. I think there's a good chance that Kid Goku could be like a part 2 to the festival. I really don't think he could headline the festival.
No. He can't.
Personally, I don't want to straight up say that moment wasn't that hype, but I think that's like a good part 2 to the festival, kind of like Dragon Fist was in the 4th anniversary. Like we kind of knew going into anniversary, like he would be a really good part 2 character. So I think that GT Spirit Bomb Goku could be a good part 2 character for this.
I'm assuming your part 3 is also GT, right? Which is most people's, which is Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Is that your part 3?
So I think it's going to depend on what part 1 is. I think there's 2 different routes we could go down here. Obviously, I think most people are expecting part 3 to be Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I think it's a pretty safe pick. I mean, I wouldn't really be surprised if that was it at all. But I think there are some other, at least, options that are worth mentioning. We could have an Ultra UI Goku, I think is definitely a character that's possible. We could have Ultra Beast Gohan. We could have Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, right? That's not a character we've seen represented in a long time. Ultra Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I could even potentially see just an Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Goku at the end of the year here.
You think so? Ultra would be pretty hype, I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, man, we have you just mentioned a lot of characters there. I could go, I don't know if we have time to tackle every one of those characters, but for Super Saiyan 2 Team Gohan, I think we might get that for Battle Hour. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I just think we might get that for Battle Hour, but that's not the topic here. And if it is GT for part 3, if let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we do get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta for part 2, don't we need in between some GT buffs? Because it's quite tricky to bring out a character for part 3 as a singular Ultra character, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but within this whole Legends Festival, we don't get any GT units. It's a really tricky tag. Fusion Warrior, I think, is very safe. They could make their way around and just Zenkai the yellow LF Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, and then we have a full color wheel and make Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta Blue. Fusion Warrior is safe. But what would you do to fix GT? Because they don't, and this is another issue I have with Legends, they don't add 1% Sparkings onto Ultra banners. Maybe they can make an exception if we do get a Super Saiyan 4 Ultra Gogeta. Add some GT characters in that banner. You get me?
Yeah, so I think the way that I would target GT, if that was going to be my agenda for the celebration, part 2, I think, is, if I was really focusing on GT, I would just hammer in Spirit Bomb GT Goku for part 2. And then again, like I mentioned, I think part 3 is going to depend on what part 1 is. I don't think they would give us multiple Fusion Warrior characters during the celebration. So I think if they potentially would go with a Fusion Warrior for part 1, which I think is at least a non-zero chance, then I think the Ultra in part 3 would probably not be a Fusion Warrior. So if they did go with a Fusion Warrior for part 1, maybe they go with a new LF version of Super Vegito, for example. I think part 3 could end up being an Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? So let's just say Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Goku is part 3. We have Spirit Bomb GT Goku for part 2. And then they could finish up as well with a Zenkai for the green Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. At that point, GT would be in a really good spot, I think.
That's interesting. So for what did you say your part 1 was?
Yeah, so I think I don't really have a set in stone option here. There's a lot of things that are on the table for. I think one of the more common choices that people have been bringing up is the tag Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta.
Yeah.
I personally don't I mean, I would be happy if that was it because they're a hype character and they'd be fun to use, but I'm kind of universe repped out. Right,
bro,
and we've had universe rep buffs the entire year.
I'm there with you.
Yeah.
And not only that, bro, but honestly, tag units. I'm low-key sick of tag units. I mean, they're cool. They're very cool, but they have to be careful how they construct these tag units, man. If you just take a look at tag Goku and Frieza, the issue with that character is, yes, they could get power crept down the line, eventually, but there's not that much counters, and they don't get punished because you're a multi-color tag unit, right? So if you make a tag unit, you really have to be careful how you construct this because honestly, this character you could just pair up with Goku and Frieza, right? If we do get another tag, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Vegeta. But all the signs, I mean, if you guys want to call it signs or hints, are all sort of pointing towards universe rep. We just got Zenkai Jiren. We're going to get an Awakened Equipment this upcoming weekly reset. That's universe rep based. So there are some signs for that, but I'm there with you, man. I'm kind of universe rep tapped out, as well as tag units tapped out. So yeah, I mean, I would personally prefer, and this is just me, and I know a lot of people will be bashing me because this is future, I would just like a Rose and Zamasu tag, if anything. And people saying, yes, this is going to be future. Yeah, it's going to be future, but it's also going to be God Key. And people forget that God Key is actually lacking If I just pull up God Key here really quick for you guys. So you can see that God Key, yes, they do have Vegeta Blue, they got Ultra Rose, they got Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, but none of these characters actually supply the God Key tag itself. So I do think God Key needs a major buff. I think the best God Key character right now is Zenkai UI Goku and the Blue Zamasu. After that, probably the Revival Goku, but there's literally no characters that supply the God Key tag. So whether it's, you know, LF, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Vegeta, or if it's, you know, Rose and Zamasu, then I still think this celebration will need some kind of God Key characters. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, God Key is going to be a tag that just gets continuously buffed forever, right? I mean, even if you're not talking about like characters that are mainly meant to be ran on God Key, you can still run like Rose on God Key. You can still run Ultra Vegeta Blue on God Key. So Ultra Gogeta Blue on God Key, right? So yeah. I think you know, we're forever going to get new versions of God Key characters, right? We're obviously going to get new versions of Beerus. There's going to be God Gokus. There's going to be Blue Gokus and Vegetas. So we can, you know, get God Key units forever. So, I mean, it's going to happen at some point. That's inevitable. So,
just a quick recap. You said for part 1, of course, this is all predictions and nobody knows, but you said the likely scenario is Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Vegeta, and that's what everybody's predicting.
I think it's likely. Actually, what I would want to see for, I don't know if they're going to do this yet, but I think at some point, because again, like I mentioned, we've pretty much seen every single major moment through the series represented in the game now. At some point, I think it's probably worth talking about at what point are they going to start giving us, I don't want to call it what if characters, but different combinations of tag characters that we haven't seen before. So like, what if we got a tag Cooler and Frieza?
Yeah, something I mean, like that would be absolutely insane, man. I mean, they have to eventually, right? Like,
actually, I did a concept for Legends Fest this year, and my part 1 concept was a tag Frieza and Cooler versus a tag Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta.
And tag Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta?
Not Blue, just Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta.
Just Super Saiyan Goku. That's the part. That's an interesting concept. I mean, yeah, that would be definitely really crazy. Frieza and Cooler though, man, that would be absolutely insane. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, but is that hype enough to lead the festival? That's
yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, I think they could sort of like build it up as like you know, Saiyans versus LOE, make the theme around that. They could start with that part 1, then we could get something. You know, again, I think if they do that for part 1, they might have to ramp up the hype a little for part 2. Like, I don't know if Spirit Bomb GT Goku would be able to carry part 2.
It's quite tricky. Yeah. I think for part 2, personally, for me, I would love to see Battle of Gods. I mean, it's been getting tossed around for a long time now. Battle of Gods is not necessarily represented in the game itself. We got the parallel version of the pilot of the anime, which is, I think it's called Beerus Saga or something like that. So Battle of Gods isn't in the game, unfortunately, in terms of like the actual movie itself. But that's something really cool. I would love to see for part 2. And, you know, I think the part 1 and part 3 is the easiest to predict, right? Because it's like the opener and the finisher. So we could kind of see what's hype around there. I think part 2 is the trickiest part, honestly. Like, we don't know what we're going to get for part 2.
Well, I would even just say that I think this Legends Fest as a whole is probably the least predictable Legends Fest, or even just anniversary we've ever gotten, because we've already gone through all the major characters. Now we're sort of, you know, all the characters that we're going to get now pretty much are just redone versions of characters that we've already gotten before.
Or like new mechanics.
So that adds, I mean, we could potentially get a new LF Super Saiyan 2 Gohan for part 1. We could get a new, what if they just gave us a new LF Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta for part 1? Like, I don't know, it could happen.
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, honestly, they should start doing stuff like that, man. They should start being a little bit less predictable in terms of everything, honestly. Like, and just to like kind of push it out of the character agenda here, just because we don't want to run this too long. But in terms of predictability, the events. The events are super predictable for these big celebrations. Now, it's not necessarily it's not like we have a ton of options because it's what's in the game itself, right? What's constructed in the game. For example, like we have Hopoi, we have the raid and stuff like that. Like, these are all predictable. Like, what else can they do? And for newer, by the way, guys, for newer players, this is great. Like, if this is your first, second Legends Festival, I get it. But as a day one player that sees all these big celebrations have the exact same event, but just with amplified rewards, it's kind of downing to me, man. I don't like it. I do think they got to shake things up a little bit for big celebrations. And I'm going to ask you, what would you do? And this is a hard question because there's not much you can do. But what would you do in terms of events to kind of shake things up here for big celebrations?
To shake things up. Well, honestly speaking, is there anything wrong with how they handled the 5th anniversary? I think the only thing that people really criticized is the hoi poi system was not that great during the anniversary. So I think as long as they bring back everything that they did during the 5th anniversary, and then they sort of revamped the hoi poi system to be a lot more beneficial, that would probably be good enough for most people. I mean, I think there's other things they could also throw in there as well. Obviously, we really didn't have the arts boosting system in the game during the anniversary. It was like brand new, was just introduced. So they could add different events and stages to give different arts boosting material. They've sort of been giving us those like training. I don't remember what they're called. The heavy attack training stages. We had one for the Guinea Force, then we had one for Dragon Ball.
Yeah. But the thing is, the thing is, yes, we get the hoi poi, yes, we get the raids and stuff like that. Those are all great. I'm not going to dismiss that. That's actually the best events in the game, right? The hoi poi and the raid, in terms of rewards and stuff like that. But like, what I meant is, what else can they do besides just every single big celebration? Like, I can tell you exactly what we can expect, right? We can expect a hoi poi. Like, I can predict most, I would say 90% of the things. Chance time, hoi poi, the raid.
Chance time.
But like, what else can we like? But the thing is that Dragon Ball Legends needs to start shaking things up. Like, they gotta throw us a curveball, maybe a new event of some sort. Don't know what they could do there,
a new
man.
event would be nice.
It's just tricky because the PvE system in the game itself, I think, is kind of flawed, man. I think there's just not much to it.
I agree. Yeah.
So there's not much they can construct off of these big celebrations because PvE isn't up there as well. Like Tuesday, like I guarantee you, we're gonna get Tuesday medals. If we don't get Tuesday medals, somebody in the comment section is gonna get $100. I guarantee you, we are gonna be getting Tuesday medals. I swear, we're gonna get Tuesday medals, hoi poi, and yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a very hard question because there's not much else we can get. It's just like regular events. That's the issue that I have. It's like regular events we see for regular campaigns, but with just amplified rewards. I mean. So
well, this is a much more broad question than just how they fix this during Legends Festival. This is just more so geared towards how do they fix PvE in general.
Yeah,
and I think whenever I think about this, and I discuss this in my videos, I always end up thinking, instead of creating new PvE events and instead of creating new like different types of just things to do with PvE. They already have a ton of PvE events in the game, right? They have full power battle, which hasn't been touched since it came out, essentially.
Yeah.
I guess you can count co-op as PvE. It's like sort of a mixture of PvE and PvP. You're not fighting against the other person, but you're fighting together with the person.
I would consider PvE.
I would count co-op. Yeah, I would count co-op as PvE. We have some of those other events that, like on the tab on the right, like we have like the world domination event, which you can only play 3 times. I think what they need to do with PvE is, instead of focusing on making new events, which they could still do, but I think the focus should be mostly on revamping and adjusting and improving the existing events that exist. So like full power battle, I think, is a perfect example of this, because I actually really think full power battle has the potential to be a really fun and engaging mode for PvE mode.
I said that a long time ago. I got so much shit for that. I said full power battle is actually like they're trying to do something different. I got so much slack for that.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to adjust some stuff before it's considered an okay mode. But yeah, totally agree with you on that one.
Well, I think most of the reason why people don't like full power battle is because it's so hard for people that don't have like higher start characters, don't have the bonus characters. So there are ways they can adjust the full power battle system to be a much more, engaging mode for players that maybe don't have the best characters or the bonus characters. Like I think they should just scrap all that stuff. Don't have bonus characters. Honestly, what if they just created that? They completely overhauled and revamped the full power battle system to where it doesn't even count the stars on your characters. Like you just pick your characters, and then it's a mode that is completely in its own vacuum, and you are able to progress through the stages and different difficulties, and it's completely dependent upon you actually playing the mode. Like that could be fine for that specific mode itself. Like it doesn't have to be reliant on stars. Maybe you don't have the perfect lineup for the mode, but you can still progress through it. There's a lot of things they can do to adjust the mode to, I think, make it at least not even just bearable, but fun for people to play through. So.
Yeah, so that's the biggest issue I have with going into the festival is the event itself. Not even the characters, because I'm sure the characters are going to be hype. Regardless, we're going to get something hype, whether it be part 1, 2, or 3, or all of it. So, but yeah, Goresh, I mean, that is all. So it's kind of everywhere for you, right? Everything's dependent on the formats with your predictions. Like part 3, we could get Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but that of course is dependent on part 1 from what you said. And it all matters, what kind of format, what's part 1 looking like, and then we could kind of make a more reasonable prediction from there. So, yeah, I totally agree with you on everything you said. Now, just to wrap things up here, is there anything else you want to say regarding the festival or anything else you want to plug in?
I just hope that they take the feedback that they've received from the 5th anniversary. I'm assuming it's mostly positive feedback because it was a very good celebration. And they don't try and tone it down and dial it down. Me personally, I'm going to be holding them to the same standard that they've set for the 5th anniversary. If this festival ends up being a little bit worse than that, or it's very visibly a step down from the 5th anniversary, I'm going to voice that. So 100%. Hopefully it's the same level of hype.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. Super Saiyan 4 Go. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, man, Goresh, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it, man. And yeah. I hope the Legends Festival does have the standards of the anniversary as well. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll definitely catch you guys once again on the next one. Have a good one. Peace.